My channel is under attack. Well, I only say that as a kind of a joke, but that's right. Netflix's The Witcher showrunner has decided to necro like a 4 or 5 day old tweet by me and give me the drubbing Twitter so desperately loved. And I will admit, my take probably not as my take was as a fan of really Henry Cavill and what in my mind The Witcher should have looked like. And some people disagree with that. Some people think that, you know, focusing on really strongly on the, you know, strong independent women who don't need no man in season 2 was great. And a lot of people, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, the books didn't kind of do the same thing. There's obviously a lot of emphasis on Ciri, but it's not the Witcher show I wanted to watch. And I expressed that, and then she went on and just absolutely eviscerated me. I'm still trying to recover. The full breakdown after this quick word from this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Hey, October is Cybersecurity Month, and they've got an amazing offer for you. It's 2021. If you don't have a VPN yet, there are several reasons why you'll want to sign up today. One, you can browse anonymously. Keep your browsing habits to yourself. You can keep your data away from big tech so that they can't resell it. And you can access region-locked content so you can open up a whole new catalog of online content to enjoy, whether it's anime or movies that might not be available in your area. You can get at it using a VPN. And the VPN I use on my phone, my tablets, my PCs, and my laptops is Private Internet Access, and they've given an amazing offer. It's just $1.98 a month with 4 months free with a 3-year subscription. If you haven't signed up today, use my link in the description or pinned comment down below to get Private Internet Access today. If you haven't got a VPN yet, it's 2022. After the video, make sure you go grab a hold of that insane deal they've offered my viewers. Now, if you don't know who Lauren S. Hittrich is, she's the showrunner of The Witcher, who was ruthlessly mocked in season 1 after their handling of Ciri. If we go back to season 1, Netflix's The Witcher showrunner Lauren S. Hittrich has gone on a Twitter hiatus following fan backlash after it was revealed the show was looking for a race-swapped lead role of Ciri with a BAME, which is a black, Asian, or ethnic minority, I guess. The left always has these funny pet names for people they think need them. She announced her hiatus from Twitter, promising to focus to work on the show. It's time for our Twitter hiatus. The love here is amazing, and the hate is enlightening. The real-life trial of the grasses, except I have to read less and write more, or we won't have any kind of finale. Be back soon with more insight and more roach. Be nice to each other, okay? And of course, her hiatus comes after fans of the Witcher series of books and games questions the reasoning behind the race swap of Cirilia, Fiona Ellen Rhiannon, or better known as Ciri. There were some fans who supported the idea, of course. However, there were many more fans who vehemently opposed the idea of a race swap. They pointed at the fact that the story is rooted in Eastern European culture and lore was being washed away for American sensibilities. Please stick to the source material. Okay, it's based on traditional Slavic/European folktales, not some American 21st century issues. For the love of sweet baby Jesus, don't get woke, go broke. Hey, there you go. Like, that's the modern Hollywood kind of thing, though. Like, look, okay, every time they reboot something, if the original cast was white, they change everything. Or they make them gay, or they do whatever. That's what Hollywood does. I could give you 100 examples, but how about, what's the Wonder Years? They rebooted that. Somehow it's better because now the cast is black. I don't know. But that's just what Hollywood's big ideas come from. I haven't seen the new show. Maybe it's good. I doubt it would be as good as the original. But, I mean, it's hard to recreate that, you know, that era and watching that movie or watching that TV show when I was a kid. It's clearly for a different audience. That's not me. Or, you know, but But when you look at it, when they reboot a traditional show like, I don't know, Fresh Prince, they don't change anything. None of the characters are suddenly in the LGBTQ plus community. Interesting, isn't it? So this is very common for Netflix and things like that. You know, and you see no hate here at all, but please recall this tweet. You said in May, culture, heritage, ethnic makeup, story. I have hopes for this show, but don't lose sight of these words you spoke. In the past, Hisrich has said that she would stick to the book's races and cultures. She specifically stated she would not change people's cultural heritage or ethnic makeup or gender because I'm feeling really liberal that day. Well, I'm certain that, you know, Netflix was probably behind it. You know, they're probably like, bro, whoa, you can't make this show with all these white people. That's just wrong. I mean, you mean this show that, you know, has an actual reason for having, you know, looking the way it does? That can't be, Netflix can't make that. Can we make, maybe could we make Geralt a member of the LGBTQ community? Or can we, you know, can we at least float the idea that he's non-binary? Oh, he's, you know, that's how these conversations go on Netflix. By the way, if you're watching this video and you haven't yet, and you're still, and you maybe you're on the fence, if there's a red subscribe button below you and it's still red, that means you're not subscribed. If you're watching here on YouTube, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to push hard in January again, try to revitalize things and get this channel growing again. So even if you have to create an account, I know it's kind of a pain, but I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe. Now, so Lauren Hisrich has had kind of a love-hate relationship. She loves to dish it out, but she in general can't really take it. Now, the first season of The Witcher was actually pretty good. That's, you know, what's interesting though. Here's what's interesting. I'm gonna just prove my point here, okay? The first season was not perfect. I don't think that it was a 91 as the audience would rate it, okay? I think it was probably an 80. Still pretty good, pretty compelling. It was great to see Henry Cavill as Geralt. I think he does awesome. But interestingly, the critics didn't really care for it. A 68 with just 91 reviews. But then if we go to season 2, now here's the interesting thing. 21,000 reviews for season 1, okay? Now we go to season 2. Half as many critics review it, but suddenly it's a 94 certified fresh. Could it be the strong focus on the strong independent women who don't need no man? And then look what happened to the audience score. A massive drop in audience score. And I think it would be fair to say there's been a huge drop in interest in The Witcher Season 2. The numbers, however, are confusing because when it reports the viewership on Season 1, they talk about views, right? 76 million views. So does that mean 76... you could see 76 million households watched it in the first 4 weeks, making it the biggest opening season for a TV series so far. Now, it doesn't talk about... it says that 76 million people watched at least 70%, right? So if we want to do this, how it's tricky math, right? Season 1, Witcher, right? Episodes. I think it was 10. Was it 10 or 8? Right? Here. It was 8. Okay. So, and they were an hour long each, right? So let's just debunk some of this math, right? So 8 episodes, that's 8 hours times, let's just use the 70% number, right? So 8 times 0.7 is the average viewership of, to count as a view for season 1 was 5.6 hours. So if you take the 5.6 hours times 76 million, right, views, that means 425 million hours viewed. 425 million hours viewed. The Witcher 2, now they've reviewed the viewing hours. And it's Witcher Season 2's only been available for a few days, but it's already clocked 142 million viewing hours. So it's hard to say for sure if viewership has dropped. Certainly the interest in reviewing it has dropped. But I mean, if you use their numbers, sure, you could make a case for the viewership dropping. But nonetheless, So Lauren Hisrich retweets this on January 8th from a tweet that I had made several days before, and I never mentioned her in any way, shape, or form, right? But I write, Henry Cavill has been totally wasted on The Witcher. Geralt continues to play second or third fiddle on his own show because, well, Netflix. I believe that is true. Now, there is an argument from people who read the books that, you know, say, well, this is totally normal, you know, and I like the female characters in the show, by the way. But this is how I felt when I was watching it, right? The writers are so obsessed to forcing the strong, independent women who don't need no man, they ignore why most of us wanted to watch. And it's not exactly, I mean, at 2,100 likes, it's very good for one of my tweets, but there are a lot of people that got in and, you know, they like the strong, independent women who don't need no man. But it's curious that so many of them have blue check marks, isn't it? Here's a writer from the show. A writer from the show responded and said, wow, have you even read the books? Last time I checked, it was more series story. And this is a writer on the show. Pronouns in the bio, blue check mark. Is anybody surprised? Here's another blue check mark that got mad about it. Look, you can make the case that, you know, that these story, because Geralt's story does weave kind of through these females. And it's very true. You know, the focus on the books is Ciri, Triss, and Yen, and Geralt are there to help facilitate a story about her. Again, fair to say. I didn't say that, like, I just said, hey, Henry Cavill's been wasted on The Witcher. A lot of people, if you're me, you tuned in for it. I'm not saying that the books were different, but it is kind of a wishy-washy take, okay? Then we get the author, I'm sorry, the showrunner. Actually, I'm the strong, independent woman you're looking to blame for your sadness. 6,000 likes. Good job, Lauren. You know, I don't think it's totally her right to, you know, address criticism. But I do think it's interesting that this is somebody who logs off Twitter and protects her account when anybody, and I didn't, you know, call out any names. I didn't tag her. I didn't direct anybody. And you may disagree with my take, but you can't disagree with the numbers. You can see, I understand the quarter didn't make the greatest tweet here. I just want to remind you to be careful about creating an echo chamber and emotionally lashing out at quote critics. There is a group of YouTubers that defended you and season 1 in the name of the fans. And the show 91 dropped a massive drop down to 61%. You know, and it's, you know, it says it's hard to disagree with the quartering when even you admit that the show would have been even worse writing if it weren't for Henry. Hisrich admits that when she first wrote the Roach scene, her instinct was to puncture the moment with a bit of meta comedy. Henry Cavill pushed for a more heartfelt moment because he's read the books, and eventually Hisrich caved, which she says was ultimately the right call. Henry was so unhappy with the line she recalls. Finally, I said, you know what? You come up with something. I trust you. You know this material so well, and you know the book so well, you don't even have to pitch it to me. And, you know, so like, again, I don't think it's necessarily a good look to be arguing with critics on Twitter. You know, I'm not a deep lore book reader. I would argue that most people that watch the show on Twitter didn't read the books. It's just my take. It's just a bit of fun. I'm not offended by it. I'm not getting into a flame war with her. And you may disagree with my tweet. I do think it's funny coming from Lauren, though. Awfully touchy that the writers and her and all these other blue check marks ascended upon me when the numbers don't lie. The fans clearly dislike season 2 significantly more than they originally liked season 1. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.